brings us to the roll calls. Ms. Irvine?
Mr. Wade?
Here.
Ms. Matuzak?
Very glad to be here.
Mr. Kress?
Present.
Mr. Gilliam?
Here.
Mr. King?
Present.
I'm assuming we need excused absences
Yes.
for Treasurer Aiello, who is at a conference earning his certification
And Ms.
for
Meltzer.
Treasury Management.
Ms. Meltzer is as well.
And Ms. Meltzer is at another conference.
Yes.
Smaller board this evening. Okay, brings us to approval of the agenda. Members want to bring your attention to item number 7, which we are recommending removing from the agenda in consultation with our planning department. Temporary tents are only allowed in certain zoning, not in the B2 zoning. Is that correct, Mr. Thompson?
Actually, the B2 is the only district
Excuse me,
that is
B2
allowed.
is allowed.
The subject property that they were looking for is zone B3. So unfortunately, it is not something that would be allowed under the fireworks ordinance.
Okay, we need to entertain a motion to approve the agenda with item number 7 removed.
I'll make that motion.
Support.
Moved and supported. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. King?
Yes.
Ms. Matuzak?
Yes.
Mr. Wade?
Yes.
Mr. Kress?
Yes.
Mr. Gilliam?
Yes. Motion's approved, correct?
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Okay, all right. I'm used to hearing that.
Oh.
That's when I know I can move on. Let's see here. We have item number 2, the consent agenda with items A through K. I do not have the verbiage on that, so I'm going to skip over that.
I'll move approval of the consent agenda as printed.
Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Ms. Matuzak?
Yes.
Mr. Wade?
Yes.
Mr. Kress?
Yes.
Mr. Gilliam?
Yes.
Mr. King?
Yes.
Passed.
Okay. Item number 3, authorize priority waste consent to change of control. We have, I believe, 2 speakers here from Priority Waste to bring this issue to the attention of the board and the public. Mr. Caramano and Mr. French. That's right. Yeah.
Good evening, Supervisor and trustees. Yes, we bring this to you as a change of control for Priority Waste. Priority Waste has went through some restructuring in the last 3 months, and as part of that restructuring, we're bringing a new financial equity partner to the table for Priority Waste. TGP is the name of the equity partner. I'm sorry, TPG, bringing equity to this Priority Waste opportunity. TPG is a $300 billion private asset manager, and they're bringing about $150 million into Priority Waste to help us with our financial viability, and we're asking for your support.
So we are not being bought by a competitor. Management's the same team, same LDCs that support your city. It's a financial restructuring where they were a debt provider, and now they are behind, kind of behind the curtain, are becoming our equity owner. So it's a legal financial restructuring.
Okay. I'll turn things over to the board members. Trustee Kress.
And this Detroit News article says the 2024 TPG deal was a leverage recapitalization which increases debt while reducing equity. So this already took place once before.
Correct. They came in and provided debt. They loaned us money, so we were servicing the debt. They're doing a restructure to where now they're placing the money in terms of equity. So they are going to be the majority owner versus a provider of cash for us.
So they were a financial arm prior.
Yes.
And now they're looking to do like a a hostile takeover and take over the common stock.
Correct.
Are you a Delaware corporation or a Michigan corporation?
Delaware.
Okay. I'm looking at this letter from Sam. It says the change in our ownership structure will be primarily equity owner, like we just covered, and expect there will be no impact. That's not very, it gives me the warm fuzzies that you don't expect it. And you go on to say, we don't anticipate any changes to the terms or scope of our agreements with you. Once again, the word anticipate doesn't give me the warm fuzzies. I mean, honestly, what you guys do really isn't that complex. It's you're our hired trash taxi, for lack of a better term. So in the morning, I roll my cart out, I throw a pizza box in it. Per our contract, that pizza box should make its way to a transfer station or to the landfill by the end of the day. And is that happening right now, given the number of trucks that you have?
Yes, it is. The, maybe some language there is, doesn't give you the warm fuzzy, but there will be no changes to your solid waste contract.
Well, that's not what it says, though.
But
It says
there'll be no changes. Verbally
Anticipated,
can tell you that right now.
it says anticipated, and then there, expect no impact. So, I mean, this is a big deal. I'm the chair of the refuse committee, and we renewed the contract with Priority because primarily for pricing and for service. Our service remained the same, and our costs went up just a little bit. And I'm concerned that these vague terms and changes to the scope of our agreements, that you might come back to us and say that we're no longer doing, because right now we have cans plus whatever you put next to the can. And we're the only community that has that. That's what makes our contract, I think the best in Macomb County. And the verbiage you're using with the fact that there may indeed be a new owner of Priority, and I don't feel comfortable that we're the ones facilitating it. I'd like to slow walk this and review it, make sure that that we're doing the right thing, because it isn't just, we're not just subordinating the loan. I mean, the control of the corporation is being given to someone, or they're being purchased to someone. I don't know if you're adding more shares, is that the case, or they're taking the shares that are now available?
They're taking the majority ownership of the company.
Okay. Who is the majority owner right now?
It's split among Aries Capital. Todd Stamper had some ownership as well. There's a third-party equity firm that was in there, but right now they're going to take that over and the negotiation of the settlement of the changes.
Okay. So the board is in favor of this?
The TPG board, yes.
No, the Priority board.
Yes, they're in favor of this. Yes,
Okay.
absolutely, yes.
So all the stockholders, even the ones you've taken the voice away from, they are in favor of this?
Yes.
I would say yes, but there's still negotiation happening there, yes.
Okay.
That's fair to say.
Okay. Also, there's been some media attention that it's a done deal, that the transaction happened. Is that false reporting?
It is false.
That's false, it's not done.
It's targeting to be closing hopefully this week, Friday.
Okay.
But there is no set date
Okay.
as of right now.
I'm very, very concerned and disappointed that the performance matrix hasn't gotten better. A lot of our conversations prior to renewing the contract was the addition of trucks. We were promised more trucks. We were promised new trucks. A lot of that stuff, that was the last ask, that was the last promise, and that hasn't been realized.
Allow me to answer that. Those are forthcoming things with the new equity partner. So when you're.
But hold on, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but it had nothing to do with an equity partner last time we talked about it.
There may have been some promises that were unable to be fulfilled due to financial constraints.
Okay,
With a
so
new-
that's, you see, I'm concerned that
I
that
understand that.
exact same thing is happening real time right now because you've failed miserably in the fall last year, and here it is, the spring, and as I understand, you're already behind on your compost, and not to mention the issues with the facilities where you park your trucks, the pending evictions and legal actions that are taking place. You understand that the only thing right now that is of value in your organization, and I'm not trying to be critical of your organization, but the contracts you have with the Macomb County municipalities and us, for instance, that's the value. That's the value. Trucks have been broken down, Band-Aided together. The paint schemes don't match. They're filthy. And you're not servicing the community per our contract. So you understand that it seems as though the company is on life support and you're looking for us to throw you a lifeline so you could get more money for more promises. I'm looking for a commitment. I'm looking to follow through on the old promises. So are you saying that the old promises, what went wrong? Can you tell me that?
I guess I'm telling you, the old promises of trucks and equipment were honest promises, but the money didn't come through to be able to support that. So with this $150 million that I'm talking about now, that's coming in once this ink's dried on this deal, will afford us the opportunity to buy the trucks we need, to place them not only in Clinton Township, but throughout the metropolitan Detroit area. We'll be able to put the proper trucks, the new trucks out on the street and allow us to improve things. So we don't expect changes to be negative by any stretch. This is only an improvement that'll be had.
Well, it's an improvement if it works out to be an improvement. You're talking about for lack of a better word, a shadowy $300 million entity that's going to come in here. I don't know if you know our history here in Clinton Township and Macomb County with Rizzo. We don't know if this entity has got a history of lawsuits, fraud, payoffs. This is an entity that we are not familiar at all with. We haven't done any due diligence. We don't know if they're fraught with corruption and price fixing and payoffs. I don't know who this imaginary, not necessarily imaginary, but this entity is. I don't know who they are. You're asking us to give the keys to someone we've never met before. And you can talk big numbers and all this money they have, that's fantastic. But you failed on your promises up until now, and this is going to be the fix again. This is going to be the fix-all. Last time you were supposed to get money to get trucks. This time you're supposed to get money to get trucks. And the lead time is such that our residents, our constituents, our taxpayers are going to, it seems as though we're going to feel pain because it doesn't sound like you have things cured right now. This is the new cure. This is the new medicine to fix an ongoing problem.
I hear what you're saying. The CEO of our company is no longer here. He's the one that made a lot of these promises through folks talking to you. He's gone.
Okay.
And,
Now, once again, in the media and in the rumor mill, it was said that there was some sort of fraud that was perpetrated. Have you sought any prosecution of those alleged crimes? Have you gone to Pete Lucido and said this person did this or did that?
Still under investigation.
Okay. So is it a criminal investigation?
The whole thing's under investigation. Looking at everything, all the financial records, everything's under investigation right now. Okay. But Todd Stamper is no longer CEO of the company. Sorry.
Well, I understand, but it's so convenient that he's no longer the CEO because he's no longer a voting. You've taken away his voting rights, and he's a large stockholder in the company.
Sure.
So this has the telltale signs of a hostile takeover, which that's business. It's nothing to do with us. We're concerned about you being our trash taxi, picking up my pizza box in front of my house, getting it to the landfill, but you're not meeting those expectations right now. And I don't understand how this latest fix is going to fix it. Because we're talking lead time on trucks, we're talking 6-8 months. I want to know, with what you have, that you can promise us that you're going to perform to the letter of the contract. Because I'll tell you right now, we've got a meeting on Wednesday, and based on this, I'm more than willing to put this out for a bid, because this is very, very sketchy. There's a lot of uncertainty. There's a lot of promises being made again. And I feel that our residents are headed towards another season of poor service. So we have the right to put it out to bid, and I'm going to encourage the refuse committee to put it out to bid, because nothing that's happened in the last 12 months has instilled any confidence in this board member. And it sure seems like a Hail Mary. It's a rush to do this. I want to know, I want a period of due diligence so we can see who this entity is before we hand the keys over to them, because it sure seems rosy, it sure seems nice, it sure seems like a big brother with a lot of money, but it could be the same Rizzo individuals. It could be, East Coast troublemakers. We don't know, and I don't feel comfortable with it at all.
We provide a lot of information for you to do the due diligence. The firm's called TPG, Angelo Gordon, very public, very well-known private equity firm that has done the due diligence on our company. They like the bones, the platform that has been built, and so they are.
Yeah, we understand from where I'm sitting.
understand your point.
From where I'm sitting, we're being drawn into your soap opera, and I don't like that at all. I don't like that at all. You're a trash taxi. Buy shiny new trucks, pick up our stuff, be on time, be courteous, have clean trucks, and get our waste to the landfill or transfer station by the end of the day. And there's been allegations that half-full trucks are going back to the yard and starting the day, with garbage in them, which that's an Eagle violation. I mean, you guys really don't have. I don't mean to disparage you, but you're the new management team, and I don't see any shining light. You're not exuding any confidence. The confidence is going to come when the new money comes. We pay a lot of money. We are unique because we pay you. We charge our residents on their water bill. We collect the money, and we give you a large check. Surrounding communities, you have to bill people individually. And as a result of that, when our residents call in to talk about a broken wheel on a thing or a missed pickup, the phone lines are jammed. That's another broken promise. We were supposed to have an exclusive extension, because when our residents call in, it is a service concern, not a billing concern, not my credit card get canceled or a bounce check or anything. We pay our bills. We pay you. We are a shining star in your portfolio. And if you guys can't get it together, I'm telling you, if there's somebody else that we can go with, we're going to go with them. Because they're going to come and stand at that podium, and we're not going to have to hear dirty laundry. We're not going to have to hear, promises and pie in the sky stuff. You guys have failed. You've failed, and you failed, and you're asking for a favor.
We're asking for you to consider our assignment, change of control, to bring more money to the company, to help us achieve all of our goals and provide the service exactly prescribed in your contract. That's what we're asking for. So
I got a copy of number 20 assignment.
Trustee
that's-
Crest, please let the gentleman answer the question. and
Okay, go right ahead,
Once you
sir.
ask.
Yeah, we're asking for that. That's what we're asking for, to allow us to bring money to this company, to provide your contract as prescribed for service for your Clinton Township residents. So that's what we're asking for. I don't see where it's a bad thing to allow this money to come in. We are your provider. We'll continue to be your provider. And we just like to see this considered and approved. I understand some of the problems you're talking about, cart problems. This money will help with cart problems. Full trucks, you can park full trucks. That's not a problem. Finishing the routes, getting more trucks, more capital that's newer, more reliable will help us finish every day as we're supposed to, even in the busy time of the year, which is starting right now. You know, your grass is starting to grow and be cut twice a week right now. That makes it a real bump in the road. But we know that. That's what we do. I personally have been doing this for 45 years. I know this business. And we know that there's opportunities to better this service. We're asking you for that opportunity.
Yeah, and you're talking, this gentleman here is talking about due diligence, and he can give us some background on this company. I would like a 60-day due diligence period for us to review it, see if they have any court actions, any pending court actions, and make sure they're a viable. Basically, it's a buyer. Basically, this is cloaked, just like Priority bought GFL. This is another entity coming in and buying it, and I hate that we have to waste time even talking about this. I mean, a normal corporation would just go out and get money and do it, and not air their. You're here hat in hand. And this is something that we shouldn't have to be troubled with as a board. This is something that's a financial thing and that you need to handle on your end. So when we're all done talking, my plan is to make a motion to postpone this for 30 days or 60 days to review this new entity that is, for all intents and purposes, taking over this company and our contract.
I understand this has to go to your solid waste committee for review before your recommendation can come back to the board? Is that, am I understanding that
Yep.
correctly? What is it that you would like for your solid waste committee what would you like to see from Priority Waste, TPG, to help you put your issues at ease that this is a quality $300 billion asset management company? No funny business here. What would you like to see?
Well, I'd like to
that would
know
help that?
who it is, their history, their board members, if they have any pending litigation, and these terms in your letter. This is you, Sam, correct?
Yes, Sam, yes, I am.
I mean, we don't anticipate any changes to the terms or scope of our agreements. That's not satisfactory. Our agreements and our terms stay the same. We're not going to enter into this and then have you say that the new conglomerate doesn't want to do mattresses, doesn't want to do bags next to it. You're shaking your head.
Yeah.
But in your letter, you're saying that there's a possibility of changes. And we are not going to accept, or I'm not accept as an elected official, any changes. Because once again, this is your problem. You're coming to us trying to help you solve your problem. And it sure seems like it should be an internal simple function of running a corporation is for you to get lending. And coming to us to put our contract, which is the most valuable thing you have right now. Your trucks are in poor condition. You could be losing your parking, your yards for parking your trucks. I'm sure you're aware of that litigation, right?
Allow me to speak to that. There are 2 locations that are not owned by Priority Waste. They're leased, rented. There is potential there, but that will not impact your service. We have 8 locations in Metro Detroit. So in the event that we need to leave one of our facilities, those trucks will move to a different location and continue to service you. There'll be no interruption.
That's something that's critical, something that we need to know. So in the event that you get booted out of Sterling Heights Yard where we park our trucks.
No,
No, I'm saying that there's,
that's not one of the facilities that's in question right now.
okay, then what, so where we park our trucks at night, where is that?
Sterling Heights,
And you're saying that that is not, you're not in threat of losing that yard?
no. No,
Okay.
and I'm verbally telling you this on camera, and your minutes, telling you that, coming right from my mouth.
Okay, because you understand how this could cascade into, there's so much uncertainty, and there's no definite terms in this document, or in this letter of intent, that the gray area is 100 miles wide right now. And we need to get it to the point where we know what we're getting, we know if there's any changes. Because after the new, because if there's a new owner and they have an understanding, and once again, if they're a $300 million company, guess
Billion.
who's going to be suing us?
300 billion.
Well, exactly,
big
exactly.
firm.
So we're in the
They're not-
driver's seat. I want to stay in the driver's seat, and I want to make sure that all the terms of our agreement stay in place. I want promises, because Paul's very aware that we didn't hesitate to assess fines. And in short order, if you don't have the trucks that you promised, you're going to be racking up a bill again. And I don't want to go against a $300 billion corporation in federal court. We service, we represent our constituents, and this really is a soap opera bordering on a Jerry Springer show, that we have to deal with all this stuff. It's sad. It's sad. I'm embarrassed for you that you have to come to us asking for this instead of just going out and borrowing money. But I'll let my other board members speak.
Trustee Matusek.
A lot of words floating around here. Got a letter, we got a change of consent letter. If we don't sign the consent letter, what does that affect on you and your company?
TPG would like to know that our customers are going to stay with us through the terms of their contract. Does this cancel the TPG investment deal? No, I would say probably not.
Okay.
But they'd like to know the customers are staying with us, Priority Waste.
Which absolutely makes sense. We're an asset
Absolutely.
of your company,
Absolutely
and
makes
they need
sense,
to know
yes.
that. The consent letter very clearly says that Priority Waste will remain the contracting party under the agreement we currently have. It won't be assigned to a different operating entity. All services will continue to be provided by Priority without interruption. Now, we may have some debates about the quality of the services we've been receiving, but this letter of intent pretty clearly says you're going to pick up the garbage tomorrow.
We have a signed contract with you. We are going to pick up your
Exactly.
garbage today, tomorrow, yes.
And the contract that we have says we can go out for bid. We can explore other options. I don't see the downside of signing this consent. It lets them move on. If they get more money, that's great. I think the Waste Committee should go out for bid. I've been saying go out for bid now for months.
Yeah, we don't know who the buyer is, though. I think we need at least to.
All right, this is not a
investigate that.
conversation.
Right. I
Trustee
think,
Matusek has the floor.
I mean, I did a Google search and a business search. I found the company. They're not hard to find. They're a multi-billion-dollar entity. Are they good? I don't know. I just did if I were investing in stock, I did that little routine where you go look at all the reports and then what they filed with the FEC and all of that. I did that. They seem like a legitimate company. I just don't, I agree, lots of service issues. I agree. Our transaction history in terms of being told things and those things actually happen has not been good with Priority. I think this doesn't really affect us in any way because the Waste Committee is going to look at the contract. It continually looks at the contract. And if the Waste Committee wants to go out for bid, I support that. But I don't see the harm in signing, acknowledging that they're still going to be picking up our waste. That's my opinion on this.
Okay, if I can, I want to provide some perspective here. So, since this management shakeup, I've had 2 meetings with Priority Waste. The first one was right after it happened, initiated by me. Met with your current president, operating officer, and the team. Did that not just with Clinton Township, but with Macomb Township. Because we came in together to say, look, we're 2 of the larger communities. We want to know, 1, is Priority stable? 2, is there a management philosophy that is different than what we experienced under the previous regime? As you know, under the previous regime, we were seeing huge problems in the service delivery model. Priority Waste at that time was more focused on proving our customers wrong through their camera system than they were at actually picking up the trash. The model is built on people calling Priority Waste. That was contract provision. Problem is, no one could get through to Priority Waste at that time. And then we had to create a page on our website to handle the volume of the calls. We had to staff up in the DPS department. We had to actually bring in temps to be able to cover the phone lines and all the problems that we were dealing with. But it also allowed us to enforce a provision of our contract that said, if the waste isn't picked up within a 24-hour time period, then we can fine the company $50 per missed pickup. When we started to impose those fines, we got up to well over the monthly service delivery fee that we provide, that our residents provide to us on their water bills. Service did improve. But the problem was the approach. The problem was we knew what the problems were because people were calling us. We were calling you, we couldn't get through. We knew that the new trucks weren't coming. They weren't there. It was a series of false promises all the way along the line. But as service began to improve, we were able to actually ink out a deal that allowed us to pay Priority Waste, then you guys could pay your bills. Obviously, that wasn't enough, but in the first meeting, my question was, we're at the start of a renewal that the majority of this board voted for. I was not one of them. I voted to go out for bid at that time, just because when we met with Priority Waste, the response was, there really aren't any problems. We knew what our reality was. The public knew what their reality was. Priority Waste was out in the public denying that reality. And so my question was, are you going to be owning up when things happen and working to correct them when we call you? Since then, we've seen sort of a renewed focus and a better response. And with the new infusion from the private equity markets, are you going to be able to perform during the length of your contract? Wasn't a clear answer at that time, but the second meeting we had was, it's a 4-year span that TPG is coming in to provide this capital, and then they'll be reassessing and reevaluating. We have a 5-year contract. So I'm not opposed to waiting, allowing the refuse committee to meet, to look at this issue. We appreciate that you gentlemen are here speaking to it. You can actually feel, I think, from some of our board members, the frustration level. And it's probably that vitriolic because it's been a series of events that led to this point. So I'm going to recognize Trustee Kress hopefully to make a motion for the postponement. Before I do that, give everyone a chance to speak. Turn things over to Trustee King.
I'll be brief. I believe we should have took this out to bid in the first place to see what else out there existed. I'm not going to beat you guys up, but I think that's been done enough. But the service is terrible. If we had to look at it as a whole, it's just been bad. And our taxpayers, they deserve more than what we've received at this point. It's been very hollow promises, lack of consistency. It's just been all around bad. Even the fact that you guys didn't have enough money to be able to continue the promises, it wasn't really explained, and it just shows a lack of partnership. Like, as a partner, you would hope, hey, we're having some tough times and we need some help and support and some patience to be able to make it to point B, point C, point D. And it was just poor all around. So that's all.
Trustee Kress.
I would like to make a motion to postpone this for 30 days, whatever through the chair to the clerk, whatever the closest meeting is to 30 days from today, to revisit this. And as mentioned, we have a refuse committee meeting. We'll probably have multiple during that time. And anyway, so my motion is to postpone it until for 30 days, whatever the next meeting you call out, Madam Clerk.
I'll support.
Okay. I think, so folks know, Deputy Clerk Irvine is here in place of Ms. Meltzer to keep us on track and make sure the reporting and the records are clear, but she's a non-voting member. But I think Trustee Kress is asking what the next meeting is that's closest to the 30-day time period. Tuesday, May 26th?
Tuesday, May 26th, the day after Memorial Day.
That's fine.
Trustee Kress?
I'm in agreement.
Trustee King?
Agreement.
Okay. Any further discussion on the motion from the board? From the public?
Sam Bushel, 18546 Wayland. I've never heard of a contract that has little motions like, we don't really anticipate changing this on you. That's the most ridiculous thing. We have a former trustee who's still in jail from when Rizzo brought in this contract. And we have a former planning director who had to retire the day that he was found out.
To the postponement.
This is to the
Mr.
postponement.
Bushell.
This is
to
why-
the postponement.
This is what about the
I'm going to ask you to stay on track, sir.
That's on track. That is on track because the 30 days is needed because we don't know that are any of the people that have caused trouble on this in the past part of the current people that are coming in. And also from what I'm hearing, and I'm not an expert on this, but from what was said, this company that is now going to be taking over had loaned a bunch of money to Priority. Are they really bringing in $150 million new, or is they just forgiving the loan that was out there and taking over the company, which is what I think is happening. And I think that's something that the reason that you'd have the 30 days is to find out, is this going to be new money, or are they just taking over the company for the loans that weren't repaid? And I think that's really important, especially because we as residents just got an increase because you just extended this contract that's been going on since Rizzo, which, luckily that trustee, his 17 years in jail will be up pretty soon, so he'll be able to get out before it's over.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public?
Kurt Studding, 17430 Millar. TPG is a major private equity firm, so they're going to bail if things go wrong. They already haven't picked up my compost on time or the neighbors on time. And the trucks that are picking up the compost are Premier. They're not priority trucks. They've already jobbed this out to somebody else. So why aren't the board getting somebody else to job it out? Why don't you break up the township in smaller sections and get other companies that can come in and do the job? 3, 4, 2, and you can split up with them so you don't give them the big burden and you can get a better price. This isn't working. If they fail, what's going to happen? If their promises fail, they have the money. That doesn't mean they're going to spend the money. Would you spend the money on a failing company? Here, it's really simple. IAI'd, what would TPG do on a failing company they had acquired? AI it, on Google it or whatever. It comes up with some very interesting concepts. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any members of the public going once? Going twice?
Bruce.
Trustee Wade.
If I could, normally through attrition, how many new trucks would you bring on, say, per month or every 6 months?
Normal attrition, 800 trucks in this fleet, residential trucks. We'd bring 80 in a year.
Okay, so right now, do you have extra trucks ordered, or are you waiting for this infusion of cash before you start?
We have trucks slated for replacement. We need the cash to make it happen completely. You know, we may not be able to get 80. With this cash, this will put us in position to get these trucks.
But originally, we were going to get more trucks. Do you see that happening, or is it happening, or no?
I can tell you that the messaging you were getting this year, earlier, last year, the year before, there were some false promises. Okay? We didn't live up to that bargain. Okay? There's no denying that. Do we understand what service we have to provide you? Absolutely, we know. It says right in that contract. So I want to thank you for listening to us today. I want you to understand that this change of control that we're asking for will bring the monies that we need to purchase the trucks in entirety and put them to work on the street, okay? The trucks that say, the rental trucks, they're rent to own. They're rent to own trucks, okay? So we're going to buy those trucks as well. That's kind of how it works. But it's real simple. I can tell you that the words you've heard in the past have been perhaps faulty. That change has happened in leadership 2 months ago, 2.5 months ago now. That's changed. And the next change will be this money that will come to the company and allow us to step up and provide the services that you expect, that you should expect, that we will stand by. Again, I've been doing this a long time, and I want to see you get what you deserve service-wise. Simple as that. So thank you. I don't know if I answered all your questions. Sorry.
Yeah, you did. One further thing, because I had the same question as the gentleman back there did, because I saw that Premier truck floating around for a while, and I did talk to somebody. Would that be because that's a new truck that was bought and it just hasn't been painted yet? You do own that truck. It's just that you haven't had it painted to indicate your company logo. Is that a fair statement?
That is a fair statement. I can't say every truck, but I heard Trustee Kress talk about different color trucks. Yeah, we're less than 2 years. We're probably 20 months into this transfer, happened in July, whatever that math is. We're still painting trucks, still decaling trucks, still going through trucks and buying trucks. So I can tell you that is happening. I see it happening every day.
Okay.
And again, I just want to thank you for listening to us. It's we're on our way to making things better. We hate to see a hurdle that's going to delay that, but I understand your concerns. And if you're going to do what you need to do for the residents of Clinton Township, just thanks for hearing us.
And just, if I may add one thing, acknowledge the fact that you're all saying that we were very hard to get a hold of. We had a fundamental systemic issues with our phone system. Our phone system itself was insufficient, and we had insufficient staffing. The first move we made early February is we built out a whole new customer service CSR pit on our second floor. We have 10 new individuals who are focused on receiving the calls. And I would invite any of you to come over. You know, we're proud to have our headquarters right here in Clinton Township. I would welcome an invite because we're going to be a very transparent, very collaborative company and partner with the municipalities. Anytime, I would love to host any or all of you to come and take a tour so we can show you the changes that we have made in just these 2 months since we've had a change in our leadership. So
if I could, I'll just speak to that, because that's one of the things that, we brought up at the time of the problems actually happening. And how we identified the problem is that we are a direct bill. So ratepayers pay on their water bill.
Yes.
We collect those funds, we then pay you. That places us in the middle of this transactional relationship. The townships in the north, they're direct pay. So you have to bill them, and they have to send you a check or go on your payment system or whatever. When they had those service delivery issues, that's a pretty long call. Hey, you didn't pick up on these days, we're not paying for these days, all that thing. Our issues were, hey, you missed my cart. Can you come back and pick it up? And so we requested at the time that those two systems be disaggregated, billing and service delivery.
Right.
And so where are you at in that process?
Well, we have separate phone queues. So we have a phone tree when you dial in. If this has anything to do with your bill, press 2. I think if it's a missed service call, you press 1, you go straight to a CSR who takes that, puts it into a portal that's available to your DPW employees, right, in the spirit of transparency. So those queues are broken out. So I can give you the exact number of calls and the hold time and total handle time for the different types of calls that the residents would make.
Right. And I can tell you, and I guess this is for the public as well, the big issue of complaints that have been coming in as of lately are damage to the carts.
Yes.
And not getting them fixed.
Yes.
I know you have carts on back order.
Yes.
But I do want to thank you for when I've called to say, hey, this lady is having to place her garbage in her neighbor's cart.
Right.
You did get out there as soon as I called.
And to that point, we've also broken out and have a fully dedicated carts team. That was another systemic problem that we were facing with carts and the misstops. Yeah, I live on Facebook and the community pages, so I know what your residents are.
Okay.
Yeah, I know what the temperature is. I'm in charge of strategy and a lot of our processes within the company. And I'm very excited about the ability to make some of these changes, given our change in leadership that we were unable to make before.
Okay. I appreciate that you gentlemen are here
Yep.
to answer questions before the board. And I'm sure after the refuse committee meeting, we will be in touch to give you some of the service delivery issues that we want to see corrected and to get responses from you on how they'll be corrected.
Perfect.
Very good. Thank you very much.
Thank you all very much.
Okay.
Good night.
Thank you. Roll call, please. On the motion to postpone to the May 26th meeting.
Mr. Kress?
Yes.
Mr. King?
Yes.
Mr. Wade?
Yes.
Ms. Matuzak?
Yes.
Mr. Gilliam?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, thank you. That brings us to item number 4, another waste-related issue, approval of the Macomb County Solid Waste Plan. Gentleman from the county. And Waste Management, I believe, yes?
Yes, I'm not from the county. I represent WM. I'm here with my colleague. My name is Jake Howlett, here with my colleague Jim Hammond, who's the area director for WM. It's a big night for trash tonight, I guess. Thank you for having us here. I'll keep it brief on what this amendment does. We're asking for an amendment to the Solid Waste Management Plan, the county plan. Pine Tree Acres is the county's only active landfill. And without the proposed amendment, the county faces a serious capacity issue. There's approximately 5 to 7 years left of capacity at Pine Tree Acres, which is located in Lennox Township. The amendment asks for primarily an expansion to the landfill of 235 acres 236 acres. About 135 of those acres will be new disposal area, lined, regulated disposal area. The amendment's about preserving the capacity. It's not about expanding operations, not increasing daily volumes, or changing how the site functions day to day. It's just to add this additional 25 years to the 5 to 7 years that exist. There are a couple other pieces, or one other primary piece to the amendment. The amendment would also allow the placement of a recycling transfer station at Pine Tree Acres. So Trustee Kress, your pizza box can go to the recycling station instead of into the
landfill?
It can't because it's spoiled because it has grease in it.
Well, to that point, and I won't digress too much, but WM has invested about $65 million in a new waste recycling facility in Detroit. That transfer station would bring it to that facility. And the technology now, you can leave a little bit of grease in your pizza box and still get it recycled now. Yeah. So anyway, I digress a little bit, but that's the core of the amendment. That's what we're here to ask the board to pass. From a process standpoint, this starts at the county level. The Board of Commissioners has already unanimously approved the amendment. It then goes to each of the communities in Macomb County. We've been going through that process. Lennox Township, where the landfill is sited, has already approved this. And I think we have 21 total, 20 other communities that have already voted yes to approve.
Within Macomb.
All within Macomb, correct. So once that process with the communities is complete, we need 67% approval on that. It then goes to Eagle for final approval. So that's the status of the amendment. That's the general substance of the amendment. And I'm happy to answer any questions that you all might have.
Okay, and so just to clarify, this is a process that originates within the county as a state requirement.
Correct.
The county has to identify where the county's waste will be disposed of. Is that correct?
Mostly correct. I think if I understand your question, there's an existing solid waste management plan. That's the county's plan. Every county has one. That allows for the disposal at Lennox Township. To amend that plan, for the expansion, that plan needs to be amended, and that amendment then has to come from the county. So the county notifies Eagle it intends to amend the plan. It provides the information that it's going to amend the plan. There's a whole series there's a public hearing, which was already held, notice in the Macomb Daily. There's a 90-day public comment period, which we've had. All of that then culminates in a Board of Commissioner vote. So the Board of Commissioners votes to move the amendment, the proposed amendment for the expansion, to the municipalities, then goes to each of the municipalities in Macomb County. And by statute, so it is a state law, by statute, 67% of those counties need to approve that amendment before it then goes to Eagle for final approval.
Okay. So this is in a sense the county's new solid waste plan, is it not?
Yes.
It will be.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, once-
So as the current plan is amended, it will be the new county solid waste plan, right?
Correct.
So our role is not to amend it, but it's a vote up or down. Do we approve it? Do we not approve it?
Do you agree with the need?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
Correct.
All right. To that point, I got Trustee Kress and then Trustee Matusik.
Thank you for coming. Let me ask, I've got a couple of simple questions for you. We're talking about capacity, correct?
Yes.
Can we agree that a lot of our capacity is taken up by Canadian garbage?
We would agree with that. That's a fair point.
So we're the northern wastebasket for Canada and that sort of thing. I'm intimately familiar with, I don't say intimately, but I'm very familiar with Pine Tree Acres. I used to work at Lennox Township, and I was at meetings at the landfill. And when one of the meetings I was at the landfill, it was disclosed that Waste Management owns 4 of those trucking companies that's bringing in waste across the Canadian border. Is that still the case?
I wouldn't say 4, I don't know the exact number, but we do control volume in Canada as WM, so that volume, some of that volume does come across the border as goods go back and forth.
Okay. Also, I always found it concerning that as you profit, as you fill the landfill up, you go to the state to get the property depreciated, which is a huge concern of mine, because as you fill it up, as you fill the backyard up with garbage, then you go to the state and say it's of no value anymore because it's full. Well, of course, because it's full of garbage. and now you're using the natural gas and that sort of thing coming off the landfill to generate energy. I guess that's a topic for another day.
We do generate enough power to power 19,000 homes in Macomb County.
Yeah, but once again, that's, the concerns about taxable value and that sort of thing is, I think it's upside down, because you are now generating revenue off of the waste, yet you're paying less in property taxes. I don't want to get sidetracked. My biggest question for you that I've never been able to get answered is Lennox Township, their tipping agreement or their agreement with you, you pay them by the cubic yard, correct?
Yes, I believe it's by the cubic
Okay.
yard.
So when I bring my tractor trailer across the scales, why do you charge me by the ton?
There's a conversion factor that's.
Well, hold
used by
on,
the state.
go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. There's a conversion factor that's used by the state. So what we do is we ensure that you're paying for only what you're bringing. If we went by the yard and say you had a 20-yard roll-off, but only half of it was full, the individuals that charge you by the yard would charge you for the full 20 yards. I'm charging you by the ton because that's what you're bringing.
Yeah, but it should be based on, once again, I don't want to get sidetracked, but it should be based on volume. That's how you're paying Lennox Township, is volume. So if I bring in 100 yards of styrofoam, it's going to take up 100 yards of capacity. If I bring in 100 yards of feather, it's different. If I bring in a truck full of dirt, that's different. I see that being flawed, and I will talk to Anthony in Lennox Township to see if we can't get it corrected. But I think that is a very corrupt way of measuring volume, especially because in some cases, a lot of your own trucks are coming in. So if there's going to be any preferential treatment at the scales, I'm not alleging that happens, but if in the
Mr. Kress,
event it did.
Let's stay on point here to the solid waste plant.
I am, because I'm
which
not in
does
favor of it,
address
because
the
we're
way
making
that
more
they bill.
capacity for Canada. And I think that if we're going to address capacity issues, I think bringing in foreign waste is the best way to stop filling up our capacity. Because someday it's going to be full, and you're going to walk away from it. And the taxes are going to be depreciated, and we're going to be stuck, and we're going to stare at this mountain that shouldn't be there. And thank you.
Trustee Matuzik.
I've been around a really long time. I've traveled around with the Canadian trash thermometer. How much Canadian trash is going into this landfill? And every time you all ask for an expansion, if I thought it was our trash, I would have no problem.
Absolutely.
But it's Canadian trash, and it is truck after truck after truck traveling up 94 to go to this landfill. So now you want to add all these other acres to take care of somebody else's trash, so you can prolong this for another 25 years. And then there's this passing reference to a potential recycling transfer facility. If you told me you were doing a transfer facility, a recycling transfer facility, and you could prove to me there was a market for this recyclable materials, which there doesn't really appear to be, I'd be in favor of this. But I'm not supporting expanding this landfill. I have not supported this for the last, I don't know, whatever it's been, 30 years. We've been fighting this. It is wrong that Macomb County is the home of Canadian trash. It's wrong. And we keep expanding this landfill, and Mr. Kress is absolutely right. At some point, you're going to run out of room in Lennox Township. People are actually moving there now and building houses, and it's going to be a problem. And then where does our trash go? And this has been an ongoing problem for at least 30 years now. I mean, Paul and I traveled around with the trashometer, trying to fight this off, and we were one vote short in Congress to make that happen. Mr. Dole voted against it at the last minute. It's just wrong, and I'm just not voting to expand this to take in somebody else's trash.
And we appreciate that and acknowledge the issue. I think it's important to note that the amendment has nothing to do with whether or not Canadian Waste comes in. As you mentioned at Congress, that's a federal question. WM can't control it, Clinton Township can't control it, Macomb County can't control it, the state of Michigan unfortunately can't control it. So we recognize that as an issue. This is not the first time we've discussed it or addressed it, whether through this immediate process or in the past. We certainly appreciate that point of view. But again, the part of the perspective we're taking on this amendment is whether this amendment were to pass or fail, the Canadian Waste is still going to come in. And if it keeps coming in, it will impact the capacity whether any of us like it or not. And ultimately, that landfill would close. And the result of Lennox closing is all of the waste in Macomb County has to go somewhere else. And that gets a lot more expensive. It impacts the roads. It impacts the cost that residents pay to remove the trash. So we certainly appreciate it. The issue we have with it is the amendment and the capacity, because we can't push a button and make Canadian Waste stop coming across the Blue Water Bridge.
I think the other thing to point out, though, is like you said, 20, 25 years, whatever this expansion or extended life gives WM is the investment that we made down in Detroit, the $60 million that Jake talked about earlier. The whole intent and what our purpose is sustainability, and to remove those items from the waste so that the landfills actually have extended periods of time. And as technology keeps evolving, we're going to keep peeling those pizza boxes that have a little bit of oil in them and extracting those and getting rid of them. And we have a lot of businesses in Michigan, that are gonna take our recycling and actually turn it into renewables. So we're trying to keep it local, trying to keep it circular here in Michigan with this new facility, and peel those waste items out of the landfills to extend their life. That's our goal.
That's a good goal.
Yeah, but we need a little more time to do it because the technology's just not quite there.
I've been listening to this for a really long time. Sorry.
Well, we're gonna be able to remove 12,000 tons a month out of the landfills with just this one facility in Detroit, which is very, very good.
Great.
So I can tell you that my history goes back probably as far, even though there might be a little difference in our age. But Julie was my former boss when I worked for the congressman. But I can tell you in the legislature, I fought this issue, and I was told that the bills that we created wasn't worth the paper they were printed on because of what they called the Ford Gratiot case. Ford Gratiot versus, I think, at the time, Pine Tree Acres. I don't know if it was Pine Tree or if it was, I think it was a landfill in St. Clair County. Anyways, basically, the Supreme Court of the United States on a 5-4 decision actually ruled that waste is an article of commerce. And I would argue, similar to the fashion that Mr. Kress mentioned, the waste is not where the value is. The land is where the value is. And the waste is a mechanism for the money to be made. Now, also at the county level, I actually had to put together a solid waste plan when I was a county commissioner. At that time, we put together a plan that allowed the expansion, but limited the amount of Canadian waste in that expanded in that expanded footprint to 20% of the total volume. That was a voluntary decision that Waste Management agreed to at that time. And no such effort seems to have been made at the county as a part of this plan. I think the county had leverage. They chose not to exercise it. So I think that's where we're at. Now it's, are we going to approve the county's plan or are we not? That's the issue. Trustee Kress.
I'd like to make a motion to deny the approval of the solid waste plan.
Further discussion from the board? Okay, we have a motion on the floor. Motion to deny. No further discussion on the board. Public. Mr. Bushell, 3 minutes. Not that you have to take 3 minutes.
Well, yeah, it will not take that long. Will not take that long. Basically, Waste Management is the owner of this place. They're making money off of it. They also are hauling trash from Canada. They're saying they're just, God, Congress won't deny them the right to make money off of Canadian garbage into our area, into our backyard. And I think that, I think they really should be denied. This can be made much more feasible. And in Lennox Township, I actually have some relatives that live out there. Adding that many acres of smell is going to lower the values of all the homes out there. And there's some real whoppers. I know some people living in a 3,000 square foot home right near there. Their taxes will also go down when, they literally go to the state, get their taxes lowered because they put trash in these people's backyards. And yet the residents pay more. I think you have to vote to deny this. Thank you.
Further discussion from the public? Roll call, please.
Mr. Kress?
Yes to deny.
Mr. Wade?
Yes.
Ms. Matuzak?
Yes.
Mr. Gilliam?
Yes.
Mr. King?
Yes.
Motion to deny passes.
Thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate it.
Thanks for your time.
Okay.
Thank you.
Brings us to, we have with us today Colby Miller from MedStar Ambulance. MedStar is the county's medical transport company, and for the purposes of a presentation and receive and file, Chair recognizes Mr. Miller. And if you need some technical assistance, Mr. O'Leary's coming, and if not, we'll dig deeper in the tech staff support.
As long as I got my bifocals, I can get through this. Mr. Supervisor, board members, thank you for having me for the annual report. Absolutely. Better? Very good. This is, I believe, my 20th annual report to Clinton Township since I've been at MedStar, so happy to be here. We've changed our annual reporting a little bit. In the interest of time, I'm going to speed it up a little for you. Please stop me if there's questions that come up along the way. Clinton Township, as many of you know, is the origin of MedStar. Our headquarters are still here, but we serve communities and facilities around Michigan now from Bay City to Brownstown and from Lansing to Lapeer. So fairly large geographic service area. In 2025, 93,000 emergency responses transporting 66,000 patients across the state. Just about a 30% cancellation rate. About 4% of our patients are emergency transport. So from a 911 call to an actual emergency transport, it's less than 5% of the patients that we respond to that are transported emergency. Average response time across the state, 5 3/4 minutes. And we request mutual aid about 2% of our responses. We'll get to Clinton Township specific data in a bit. In the past year, we've had our 3rd annual Safety and System Design Summit where we invite elected officials, healthcare leaders, and EMS leaders from around the country to come in and learn about the progress that the EMS industry, the public safety industry is making across the country. The model is changing. The way that we all used to, everybody goes lights and siren to every call. Every caller who calls is a critical emergency. And now we're realizing, now that there's a national data set, we're realizing that that's actually quite a long way from the truth. And when you think about it, the impetus, although it's to get the right care to the right patient at the right time, also not having emergency vehicles ripping around town, lights and siren, to patients who aren't at risk of worsening of their condition is a significant risk for all of us, whether it's police, fire, or EMS providers. So MedStar is taking the lead here in Michigan and bringing the thought leaders from around the country together. We'll be having another one this fall, and you'll certainly be invited again. One of the things that we've done this year as we continue to invest in fleet safety, if you use Waze in your vehicle, or if you have a newer model vehicle from some of the manufacturers, MedStar was the first agency in Southeast Michigan to install the Haas alert devices. Anytime we turn the lights and siren on, it lights up a Waze alerting system or many of the vehicles within 2 miles of the ambulance that there's an emergency vehicle approaching. You'll notice, and it's in gray shade, so I apologize, but during 2025, we notified 147,000 vehicles that there was an emergency vehicle approaching. The average speed reduction is about 20%. So they monitor the speed of the vehicles once they receive the alert, and those speeds are reduced by about 20% by the approaching emergency vehicle. Thankfully, our vehicle incidents went down about 20% in the year 2, and we attribute that, some of that, improvement to the ways, to the Haas alert system. Continue to advance the workforce. We have one of our EMT training centers is here in Clinton Township at the McLaren Glass House at Gratiot and Metro Parkway. The lower unit of that building is all MedStar classrooms, so we train EMTs and paramedics there. We have another EMT and paramedic training at our new building in Detroit. 23 new paramedics and 54 new EMTs last year, and we're the only agency based in Macomb County that's nationally accredited. Apologize for the small font. I've got the advantage of my new readers. We compare ourselves to the national data set in a lot of our clinical care. The national standard for stroke assessment is 73%. Our stroke assessments were at 99. The return of spontaneous circulation for cardiac arrest patients, the national data, 25%. MedStar data is 35% in Southeast Michigan. So in the small number of critical calls that we do run, we track our data against local data as much as we can get it. We track it against ourselves for annual performance, and then we look to whatever national benchmark we can find so that we're reporting on actual patient outcomes, actual patient impact. Stroke and cardiac arrest are just two of the ones that we track. This is a personal matter of pride for me, and Clinton Township was the first municipality in Southeast Michigan to receive a patient who got whole blood in the field. We've spent the last 2 years researching the idea of EMS carrying whole blood. We went through the state, we went through the local medical control. The medical control in Macomb County was one of the first MCAs in the state to adopt the protocol. MedStar was the first agency in Southeast Michigan to carry whole blood. And about 2 months ago now, a lady, I think on her 82nd birthday, had an abdominal bleed here in Clinton Township. Her blood pressure was less than 60 palpated, starting to lose consciousness, every sign of shock without the external bleeding. The ambulance got on scene, the supervisor got on scene with whole blood, administered whole blood. By the time they got to the hospital, blood pressure was stabilized, patient was talking. Over the weekend, this weekend in Macomb Township, not to talk out of Clinton Township, a gentleman had a femoral artery surgical repair that burst. Pulled himself into a McDonald's, called 911, and said to the 911 operator, "There is blood everywhere." When we arrived on scene, he wasn't kidding, and he was a couple minutes away from cardiac arrest. We got one blood pressure when we arrived and no longer had a blood pressure as we began our assessment. The blood arrived shortly thereafter. The gentleman was talking when he arrived at the hospital. So the impact of whole blood, again, a small number of critical calls that we respond to, but critical intervention for the calls when we do. And it's interventions like these that we continue to work on ways to better serve the most critical patients in our population. The blood is replaced. You notice that we're having more and more blood drives. The blood is carried in our supervisor vehicle in a very high-tech cooler. It's dispatched by dispatch nature as often as the dispatch nature indicates, or at the request of a responding ambulance. We've also told any of the other EMS providers in Macomb County, if you've got a patient and a long scene that you think is going to need whole blood, call us, we'll bring the blood to you. We don't bill, we don't want to transport, we don't want to do anything with it. We'll just ride in with your patient to make sure they get blood if they need it. National Patient Satisfaction Survey, MedStar's top box satisfaction is 97.4%. We'll look at Clinton Townships in just a minute. A survey is mailed to every patient who is not known to be intoxicated, incarcerated, psychiatric, or otherwise not able to respond to the survey if they receive it. And there's a few patients, or a multiple system user, because the surveys go out once a month. So if you mailed 10 surveys to somebody who had 10 trips that month, they wouldn't know what to fill out anyway. Very happy with our satisfaction score. We'll see the townships in just a minute. We continue with our Shock and Save initiative. There are several of our AEDs that have been placed here in Clinton Township. We raise money, we match the money raised, and then we give away or place in the community AEDs, and we provide CPR training for the facilities that receive it. We'll see a little bit later how we're expanding this program and how it will benefit us here in Clinton Township. $1.6 million in a new CAD this year, new dispatch systems, new patient care reporting systems, new documentation system for our crews, improving how we select the ambulances and send them on the calls, and then better and more automated information for our community partners like Clinton Township. Moving into the township data now for the year. I apologize again for the small font, but you can see your nature of request. These are the top 15. These are not the only 15, but once it gets below this data, it gets into pretty granular numbers. You can see that the highest requests are sick person and falls, difficulty breathing is up there, traffic incidents, chest pain, unconsciousness, and unknown. And then and psychiatric is there, and then it goes down into smaller numbers. That is the annual data for the top 15 request reasons. The call goes into Comtech. Comtech talks to the caller, puts them through a standard nationalized call screening, and then sends the summary of the information to us. We dispatch along with the fire department. This is, I'm thankful to present this, that we are now getting to where, and it's not this way in all of our communities, but we have less emergency responses than we have non-emergency. So Comtech's doing a good job on the phone. The dispatchers are working together. We're standardizing those questions, and less vehicles are running lights and siren to scenes where patients might still need medical care. But the idea that the ambulance has got to go through intersections and lights and siren and kids and all the rest of the stuff that goes into it, the national target for the National EMS Quality Assurance Committee is 30%. So we got a ways to go, but we're making progress here in Clinton Township and throughout our service area. This is where the impact is really seen. So for the patients that we respond to, the blue is non-emergency transport. The gray shading is patients who aren't transported at all. And the very small red is the emergencies. So in 6,000 and some emergency responses in Clinton Township in the year, we transported about 400 emergency status. So you can really see the mix as it changes there in the dispatch nature versus the response outcome. A lot of patient refusals, a few patients deceased, several where the ambulance is dispatched and we get on scene. These are generally traffic accidents, and nobody called an ambulance. The fire department has arrived, we've arrived, but there's nobody there to even do a refusal of our suggestion to go to the hospital. So there's a fair amount of those calls in the system. And then there's cancellations on the way or from the scene. Then that makes up about, I think the cancellations here make up about 40% of our response, or 30% of our responses. The contract in the township is for 859 at 90%. The average response right now is just about 6 minutes, with a 94% compliance on the emergency response standards. And then moving ahead, when we look at the non-emergency response, it goes up by a couple of minutes with an average response of almost 8 minutes for a non-emergency response. And when I say non-emergency, still the closest ambulance, still going directly to the scene, just not running lights and siren. Supervisor Gilham, you brought up the question before. I did some research. Of the calls that are prioritized as non-emergency, how many of them become emergencies? This is the test of whether that system is working or not. 4,600 calls dispatched in the township during the year as non-emergency responses. 7 of them turned into be emergency transports. So from a percentage, I'd say that's a very safe test. Every now and then there's far more over triaging in the dispatch world. Every now and then there's one that gets through just on the questions, but from a percentage perspective, I think that's probably less than a third of 1%. Here in Clinton Township, 97.4% top box satisfaction for all of the township residents who received a patient satisfaction survey. So that I'm clear and top box doesn't seem like jargon, we combine all of the positive responses. So excellent, very good, and good. We roll them into what we call top box patient satisfaction. So outside of the positive responses, there is 2.1% of the patients who have something other than a positive response to our patient satisfaction survey and can comment on the survey. There's fill in the blank comment boxes after each survey section. There's also a section on the survey that somebody can request contact if they want it, and we just don't see that much. Here's what I think is telling of our service. These are the complaints received from Clinton Township with 7,000 some responses. One was a billing issue that came in as a complaint. It was really someone not understanding copays and deductibles. And one is somewhat of a self-reported complaint where we mowed down somebody's mailbox while we're backing out of the driveway. And as soon as we hear about it, either from our crew or from a resident, we go out and fix it. We fixed coffee tables, we fixed broken doors from time to time, but if we damage property, we go back and fix it. Or the guy says, I need $100 to fix my mailbox, and we give him $100. Looking ahead, and I'll speed up here, we continue to work on patient outcomes. We continue to work on a positive patient experience, continue to work with our co-responders and work on public safety initiatives, expand the workforce development, and really build programs that help the residents in our communities get early intervention for their needs and reduce the emergency responses, as well as expanding our involvement with public boards like yourself. The Knock and Check program is our new initiative this year. I would like to tell you that it's up and running by the end of the first quarter, as the slide suggests. However, there's a fair amount of HIPAA that goes into the website, and the web interface with HIPAA is just a little slower than we expected because it's pretty significant. But if you live in the MedStar service area this year, and you are medically at risk, your family is concerned about your safety, you are a multiple system user, or your physician would like you seen by a paramedic at least once a month, the paramedic will come to your house and knock and check on you and provide that assessment data back to your family member, your physician, whoever it is that's concerned about you, or tell you, you might want to see your doctor, your blood pressure's up 10 points from the last time we saw you last month. So we're moving into preventative care for the people that live in our community, knowing that if we can catch that blood pressure before it goes up, that prevents an ER visit, that prevents an ICU stay, that prevents healthcare spend, and ultimately raising the health status of the population. There are communities around the country that have expanded this community paramedic program where they're actually not dispatching emergency ambulances anymore to their lowest priority calls, and they're just sending the community paramedic out, driving a Ford Explorer to say, what can we do here, what do you need? Or by the way, this is the 11th time you've called this month. Before we bring all the resources, can we see about food insecurity, medication availability, transportation to an appointment? There are things in the EMS system that drive EMS system use that really could be managed out of the system for everybody's benefit. And this is our first step, and it will be live here in Macomb County as soon as everything's in place except for the HIPAA protection of letting people sign up on the web. The other thing that we're expanding this year, and I'm just about done, we are expanding the CPR and AED program to now include Stop the Bleed training and Narcan training. So for any church, school, civic, or other not-for-profit organization that wants that training, we come out, show them how to work the AED, show them how to do CPR, show them how to administer Narcan, and show them how, in, for example, a mass shooting, they can at least do that initial first aid. And then switch the wall unit where the AED sits now, hopefully next to the fire extinguisher, to have a Stop the Bleed kit in the wall unit, to have a Narcan kit in the wall unit and the AED. So there's now an emergency response box in all of these public spaces, and people who know how to work it. That really drives change in an EMS system. The highest cardiac arrest save rate in the country for 25 years was in King County, Washington, double the next closest community. And this is the county where Seattle is. And it's not because of the number of ALS trucks or ambulances on the road, it's because the public knows how to work an AED and do CPR. That's our goal here. And then we continue to advance the conversations with our elected officials and our other public safety partners about EMS system design. We want, and it's a kind of a generic statement to make, but it's actually pretty practical. We want to make sure that we're getting the right resource to the right patient at the right time and speed for the right outcome. So that continues to be our goal. And as a 911 provider throughout the area that we serve, we know that we're just the EMS provider. It takes community buy-in to really drive these changes. But if you think about it, if we stop sending the paramedics to the sprained ankle calls, the paramedics are going to be that much more available for the cardiac arrest patient or the stroke patient who actually needs them. Overutilization in the system creates inefficiency when the system hits peak, and there's BLS ambulances a block away from a sprained ankle that aren't being sent on the call because of system design. It's not just a Macomb County thing, it's statewide. There's a lot of agencies around the country making changes. We're inviting our communities to analyze how their systems are designed around the MedStar service area and seeing a lot of changes as the elected officials start to understand the issue. Happy to take questions.
If I could, I just want to start, one, Opie, thank you for being here. Appreciate the report. we do have an ambulance committee. We do appreciate the reports that we receive on a regular basis. And the fact is, we are not emergency responders up here, right? We don't have that training, and so understanding the dynamics of how changes are occurring within the system are incredibly helpful. Our contract right now is built around this concept of, you know, we have to get there in so much time, and everything's an emergency, and we every quarter review all of those that are outside the contract parameters. If, you know, if the contract says 9 minutes, but you get there in 12, you have to kind of give us the reason why. And so it's good to understand that. And I think some of the data that you provided tonight is sort of speaking to that. The other thing I want to thank you for is your contribution to a PSA that we did. About the middle of last year, kind of towards the end, when things really get busy, we were nervous about it. Because one of the things we were trying to communicate is that we want people to call 911. But if it's not an emergency, please don't call 911. Because you're straining the services for people when there is a real emergency. You've got, in any given time, I think 4 units. 3 to 4?
Well,
I think it's 4.
3 to 4, but 15 coming and going from the hospitals, so there's, you know, there's always the population of vehicles moving back and forth.
So we have the benefit of that.
You sure do.
By sure location, proximity to the hospitals and the fact that we're headquarters here in a lot of your training programs. But one of the things after we did the video, and it was great, is it was you, it was the fire chief, it was me, but call 911 if it's really an emergency. If it's not, please don't call 911. And I was pleasantly surprised at the response. People were overwhelmingly positive. They said, we appreciate this message so that we aren't straining those resources.
You know, there's a lot of public feedback because that message that you produced is a message that's consistent across a lot of systems in Michigan right now. And the people who understand the small number but the high degree of time sensitivity are the same people who say, you know, why did so many people show up and why is everything lights and siren? Some people will call 911 and say, I want you to come to my house, I'm having chest pain, but I don't want you to use lights and siren, I don't want the neighbors to see it and all the commotion that goes along with it. As an EMS agency, we answer those questions, but again, the answer that we come back to is trying to get the right resources to the right people at the right time and speed so that the right resources are available in the system for the need where the clinical, the acuity is high. My paramedic license turns 40 years old this year. I won't tell you how old I am, but you got to be 18 to get one. So I'm in my 40th year, and when I started in this business, every call was an emergency. Every trauma patient got 2 large bore IVs. In only 40 years, we realized that 2 large bore IVs for trauma patients makes them bleed out and die faster. So the system is calibrating around patient outcome and not the expectation that unfortunately we built. Our industry built it. We put call 911 stickers on everything that would sit still long enough. And then the public did. Everybody started calling 911. Now the 911 system is overburdened, and we're trying to recalibrate around the right service for the right patient at the right time. That's where knock and check comes in.
And so that's where I wanted to go next, is the knock and check program, because I saw a presentation on this, and I think the numbers that you provided were from like Colorado Springs, where they've implemented this, and it basically is somebody who, as they leave the hospital, you are now going to try to sign these folks up. Do a baseline assessment, a visit to their house, and then you get that, what are the numbers, what is the general health standard, and then when you go back, if there are changes, if the feet swell, or, you know, things like that, you can then say to that person, hey, you might want to call your doctor, or if the daughter signs mom off because mom is elderly, and it's really a great preventative way. It's, you know, trying to address this in the front end rather than the end kind of user, you know. So one, establishing relationships with people is important. 2, getting them to their doctor and getting them regular care, and just to have that physical check. And then the numbers were off the charts. So the amount of responses the amount of people that had to go back into the hospital. You also talked about the concept of your second category up there on the calls was false. And so you actually go through the house and look for trip hazards and things like that that try to work with the family to prevent those. And I think this is exactly the direction we need to be. So I appreciate that, and I'm hoping that we can get Clinton Township signed up as soon as possible.
Happy to take the lead.
Trustee Kress.
Thank you for coming. And you have, by contract, you have to have 3 ambulances at all times in Clinton Township. Is that, am I correct on my say that?
I think the contract evolved in its last rotation to where the number of dedicated trucks is out of the contract and it's a response time driven contract.
Okay.
Don't hold me to it. It went one way or the other, and I just don't know right
So
now.
there isn't a minimum amount of trucks?
Dedicated number. And here's why. What we try to discourage our communities from picking a number, because if you pick a number, then that becomes the number. And if the number is 3, when the community calls for 7, you're 4 short. When the response time becomes the target, then we've got to manage 2 or 9. So if somebody says, we want 2 dedicated ambulances in our community, we try to discourage that, because what you wind up with is 2 dedicated ambulances.
Okay.
So we look at and say, what's your response time expectation on the emergency side and on the non? And we're going to staff and deploy around that expectation.
I'll tell you what my personal expectation is that I'd like to see, I don't know if you have a measurable, maybe you do or don't. How often do you beat our fire department to scenes, whether it's cardiac arrest, slip and falls? Do you have a measurable for that?
We don't, and to tell you the truth, we would, because of the focus on the patient outcome rather than who gets somewhere first, I don't know that we have a data point to capture it.
Well, what I'm getting at is, we utilize you for your paramedic services and transport services.
Yes, sir.
We have an outstanding fire department. We have all paramedics. I know of instances where a 30-ton truck, where people are eating a meal, get in the truck and drive somewhere, and they beat your ambulances there. I would very much like to see you, your organization, take the lead on more calls. I know you covered no lights and sirens. Well, every call we go to is lights and sirens, so you're already at a disadvantage. And you talked about the new technology in cars, letting them know you're coming. I don't see that as a plus. If somebody's in danger, I'd like to see lights and sirens, and I'd like to see you beat our fire department there so they can get called off, so they can go about their daily business. I'm concerned that we're taking the lead in too many instances. And if you don't have a measurable, I'd like to, going forward, I'd like to know, I mean, a lot of it goes through Comtech, but if it's a cardiac arrest, I want you guys to beat us there. I want you to I know you don't have a committed number of trucks, but you're saying there's an abundance of trucks because of hospital traffic. I'm very concerned that our short-staffed highly skilled fire department is doing your job in a lot of instances. I've heard times where there's let's say a cardiac arrest again, and we're there, and your drivers will hang back because we've already taken the lead, we've already put an IV, we're already stabilizing the patient. That takes our entire fire crew off availability for at least an hour. So going forward.
That's by contract. Just so, and I don't want to be seen to be argumentative, but in the contract it says if you arrive first on an ALS call, by the firefighter's choice, they become the medic of record. So the decision to be second is not ours.
Yeah, I want you to be first. Going forward, I'd like to have a measurable on calls, who gets there first. Because it's a blessing that all of our fire people are all paramedics. And the fact of the matter is that you know that if we make it there ahead of you, the patient is getting outstanding care. Not saying that you don't, I have no problem with your staffing, they're all outstanding people. But as our contractor, as, you know, what you do for us, I want to see you beat a 30-ton truck to a location in a neighborhood. I don't want that truck, our 30-ton truck, going through the neighborhood. I'd like you to get there first, you know, acknowledge that the patient's stable, you're going to do transport or whatever it is. I don't know how that works, but I want to see you take the lead when it comes to patient care and emergencies. So if next time we talk, or if you could start a new category, a new measurable, something for the next presentation to show us how often you get there before us, that'd be greatly appreciated.
Understood.
Thank you.
Any trustee Matuzak?
Got to get used to this. You both just talked a lot about don't call 911 for emergencies, but neither of you said what you do for a non-emergency. And since we have people listening in, I would like you to tell people what they're supposed to do in a non-emergency other than call 911. That's all.
So I think there's a couple of answers without, what's the legal disclaimer that we see on the TV ads? You know, I'm not a doctor or a lawyer or medical advice. I think the idea that if I call 911, I will get into the emergency room faster, or if I call 911, I don't have to go pay the $50 at the urgent care, or if I call 911, I might not have to go to my doctor's office tomorrow morning. Just in hearing the alternatives spoken out, we know what the answers are. If it's something that can be seen in an after-hours clinic, of which there are now several, or an urgent care, we encourage people for lower-level emergencies to do those things. Several of our callers, and the number has gotten better, but it's still a thing, they call the doctor's office at 5:02 in the afternoon, and the doctor's office answering machine picks up and says, sorry, it's 5 o'clock, we're not here anymore. If you think you're sick, call 911. And the fact that they were calling the doctor's office first indicates that they probably don't need to be in an emergency department. But you are right, communicating the alternative is something that the system has really not done our best with. There was an alternative treatment and transport program at the federal level a couple of years ago that failed for lack of participants. But there's renewed discussion about EMS providers being able to transport to urgent cares and places like that. But again, building the response time or the response structure so that we can use a BLS ambulance to help that sprained ankle get to the urgent care, or the patient with an upset tummy, or my elbow started hurting 11 years ago. Those are the patients that we need to get to alternative destinations, not occupying an advanced life support truck on the call. Tough job, though.
Right. So, but you didn't answer my question, either of you. You want people to call 911, but you want them to describe what is going on better. Is that what you're saying?
So, yes. And in some systems, not in Southeast Michigan, I will say yet, in some of the more progressive 911 systems around the country, if you call in with a lower level emergency, they actually send you off to a nurse line before they initiate a response. And the nurse on the other end of the phone figures out what you actually need. They may send you back into the system, or they may tell you to call your doctor's office in the morning or go to an urgent care. Right now, our 911 system, and this is not a MedStar thing, this is a system thing, isn't set up for that call path. So whether you're having chest pain or your elbow hurts from 11 years ago, the system is designed that an ambulance is sent and transports you to the hospital. That is the construct. So the only lever that we have as an agency is things like knock and check to help people who might have underlying conditions to not have to make that call. But for the person who says, oh gosh, something's wrong, I need to get it checked out, no matter what the level, right now our system does not have a lot of alternatives to advertise other than the urgent cares, the hospital emergency rooms going direct, or the longer hour physician's offices.
I understand. Great theoretical answer. If you're not feeling well, if your elbow hurts, if I just had a knee replacement, if I think something's wrong with that, clearly not an emergency. What are we telling people to do? You all
Call
did a
their
video
doctor,
about
there's
this, which I
urgent
obviously
care.
need to go watch. But
So I think one of the most telling slides is the fact that the question we posed in the ambulance committee on the calls that did not result in a transport, or those calls that were triaged with a lower acuity level, and how many of them were actually higher. That, I thought, was one of the most important statistics. And out of those thousands of calls, 7. So it is, you've got dispatch, you've got the fire department, you've got MedStar, you've got the hospitals, you've got urgent care. It's a continuum. And so trying to find the right continuum, I don't think is an easy answer for me, certainly, but I think it's also a difficult answer for
Well, I
somebody who
agree.
does this professionally for a living.
I agree, then you both should stop saying, don't call 911.
No, what we said is if it's an emergency, call 911. If it's not,
If it's
then-
not, what do you do? I'm looking, I mean, we've just told folks not to call 911.
We did not tell people not to call 911. If you were to call up the actual public service announcement, I think maybe we review it again and revisit this conversation, because I think you'll see that we are not telling people to call 911.
But I accept the challenge of, as we message around this topic, we need to include what those alternatives are. So for
Exactly.
the people who want to, they can make the right call.
You can go to urgent care. You can drive yourself to the emergency room. You can call your doctor's office. There are other things people can do, and if we're going to use the words, don't call 911 unless it's a real emergency, then we need to use those other suggestions and give them to people.
No doubt.
Because I mean, you just said, don't call 911. It's like, I want
Context,
people.
context is important, though, trustee.
I will agree with you, and I hope that we can get to the point where the 911 operators can really do some assessment, because that will help sort people out. But I just think we need to be really careful about that language. I think it's really important language.
Agreed.
Noted. Trustee King.
You presented some metrics here about Clinton Township in your presentation. Are you able to splice that up by like zip code or by geography within Clinton Township?
I don't know that I can answer that. Our CAD collects the municipality where the call is. We might be able to feed the addresses back into a tool and learn, quadrants or zones or something like that. As it stands right now, I think my quick answer is no, but I think there may be a way by address to geospatially carve up the township and look at it a different way.
If you could, I would appreciate if you could get us, or myself in particular, I'm interested in it personally, if we could get data to see by zip code what our response time is. I would appreciate that.
Okay, will do. The caveat being, the only zip code that we track is the patient's address zip code. So just so we're clear, if somebody's from Roseville in Clinton Township, that zip code data that we track isn't associated with the response. We don't track the zip code of the response location. We track the zip code of the person. So there may be some data drift there.
So, hearing that, thank you. Is there a way that you can get us response time by address of the pickup?
That's the heat mapping that I'm thinking about. As we talk about this, I'm trying to come up with a way to heat map and look at it that way.
I would appreciate that.
Very possible.
I don't think you're that far off, though, because I can tell you that anytime there's a response that is not within the parameters, it usually, the report gives us something as to like where it was at. And then you have your ambulances positioned in
Correct.
certain areas, and most of the time, because the volume of calls, you had people out of position.
That's exactly right.
So I think that possibly you're not far off from getting that data, and I think it is important data.
And I'm fairly comfortable that the distribution will be pretty equal across the township, but I'll dig into it for sure.
I'd be glad to hear that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. Trustee Wade?
As somebody who was a former dispatcher, there's a couple problems, and especially, I think that's very challenging when you say don't call 911, and I'll tell you why. The 911 system was built prior to cell phones, and a classic example would be if you have a bad accident at 16 and Gratiot. Prior to cell phones, somebody had to pull off the road, look for a payphone. You might get 2 or 3 phone calls on that accident. Now, everybody that drives by the accident calls. And Julie may see a fender bender, and I may look and say, oh my God, it's a fatal accident. So the dispatchers are put in a very bad position because they have to take the most serious of what they're getting. Am I correct?
No doubt.
Yeah. So it's very challenging when it comes to that. The second part of that is, as far as somebody calling and you've got somebody ill in a house. Well, 9 out of 10 times you're speaking with somebody who has no medical experience. And you're asking, and a person may say, well, I think they're having a heart attack. Well, you know, I wouldn't know. I just basic things, but you're asking somebody to give a medical evaluation. The dispatchers do have a protocol on every call. So when somebody calls and says someone's sick, they got a chart they flip to, and they go right through the script. And, I mean, they're trying to button it down the best they can, but they have to protect themselves, too, because they don't want to undermine the call and say, well, it doesn't sound that bad, and then they get there and someone, you know, could be a fatal situation. You don't know. With that said, I do want to give a shout out to MedStar. Just a 30-second story. A couple weeks ago, my brother had a medical emergency. He was inside Walgreens picking up a prescription. One of your employees was off duty, was in the store, and jumped right into action and really could have been a very bad situation under control. And I sent you an email, wanted the employee really acknowledged because I think it gives an example of some of the quality people you have at MedStar. And I hope that person gets a big shout out.
They did,
So-
and we do a weekly recognition email from all the feedback that we receive. Sometimes 30 or 40 emails a day come in from patient feedback, so we always track down who the crew was and throughout our system, always give that recognition. There's a lot of second guessing of the care that we provide sometimes by folks, but when they're given the positive feedback, we always try to share it.
Okay, thank you.
Further comments from the board? From the public? Leonella?
I just want to say urgent care closes. They're open from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. A new one over by us. Sunday they were closed at 6. So a lot of the sicknesses happen after that time. Some of them stay open till 10, but they really need to have an urgent care section in the hospital where, you know, not by the emergency or something.
Motion to receive and file is in order.
I'll make the motion.
Is it supported?
I'll support it.
Moved and supported. Further discussion? Roll call, please, Ms. Meltzer.
Ms.
Oh,
Matuzak?
excuse me, Ms. Irvine.
Ms. Matuzak?
Yes.
Mr. Wade?
Yes.
Mr. Kress?
Yes.
Mr. Gilliam?
Yes.
Mr. King?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Yes.
All right. Mr. Miller, thank you for being here. Item number 6, request adoption of charitable gaming resolution for Peace, Love, and Paws Rescue. Wow, you ladies, thank you for braving out these agenda items. You ought to be commended.
It's my city, so I don't mind.
Okay.
My name is Anya. I'm the co-founder and treasurer of Peace, Love, and Paws Rescue, and this is Lauren. She's the president and co-founder as well. We're looking to get the resolution for the charitable gaming license so that we can apply through the state of Michigan for the charitable gambling license. The purpose is to help increase donations at our largest fundraisers, which is our golf outing in July, which everyone's welcome to come to, and our bowling event in March every year.
Great.
Yeah, we're a foster-based rescue, ran fully on donations. All of us work full-time as volunteers. No one gets paid, so all donations mean the world to us.
Excellent. Okay. Is there a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve.
I support it.
Moved and supported. Further discussion? Roll call, please.
Ms. Matuzak?
Yes.
Mr. King?
Yes.
Mr. Wade?
Yes.
Mr. Gilliam?
Yes.
Mr. Kress has stepped away. Motion passes.
Okay, ladies,
you
thank
so
you.
much.
And again,
Thank
thank you for
you.
sticking with us here.
Of course.
We're sorry it took a while to get to your agenda item. Absolutely. Okay, that brings us to item number 7 was removed. Item number 8, special land use and site development plan approval for proposed service station and fast food restaurant drive-through on Hall Road. Is the petitioner present? Okay. Again, gentlemen, thank you for your patience as well.
Of course. Interesting meeting. But my name's August Escador. I'm here with Stonefield Engineering. We're located at 555 South Old Woodward. On behalf of the applicant tonight, unanimous approval from Planning Commission. We have received the variance we required for our site plan, and we're really excited to bring this to the township. So I think Bruce has done a good job in his review. Really just here for any questions if you have any. I think this is kind of a home run site really for both the township and the applicant. So glad to be here tonight.
Okay. I know it went through several iterations.
Yes, it's
And
been
so
a long
where
process.
where we've landed is probably a really great compromise and a good project.
I'd say this is 2-3 years in the making, with going back and forth with staff and fire marshal approval and everything. So it's been a long time coming. We're excited to finally start getting closer to the finish line here. So
Okay, questions from the board? From the public? Is there a motion?
I move approval of the site plan.
I'll support it.
Roll call, please.
Ms. Matuzak?
Yes.
Mr. Wade?
Yes.
Mr. Kress?
Yes.
Mr. Gilliam?
Yes.
Mr. King?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, item number 9. Thank you, gentlemen. Item number 9, recommendation of appointment to the Housing Commission.
Can I read it? A vacancy has been created on the commission following the resignation of Commissioner Ken Pearl this past February. The opening is a partial 5-year term that will expire on January 3rd, 2027. Please note that this appointment falls under the jurisdiction of the Township Supervisor and is subject to ratification by the Township Board. Attached for your review is the application for appointment from the following applicant, David Hilliard. Per policy guidelines, an invitation has been extended to the applicant to attend the meeting, and he will be given an opportunity to speak if he wishes.
Is the applicant present? All right. And thank you for your patience as we've gotten through the meeting here.
That's okay. My kids need to sit still for a bit.
Okay. If we could have you introduce yourself, and you have 3 minutes.
I probably won't take that long. My name is David Hilliard. I'm excited to be a part of the Housing Commission. I did grow up in city housing myself in Mount Clemens, so I understand it is something to those people who live there to have a sort of pride about the place they live. So hopefully I can join and help improve that for them.
Great, great. And even though the agenda item has my name on it, I would refer to Trustee King, because I know he's running point on these items and does a lot of work and spends a lot of time. So, Trustee King?
Thank you, Paul. I would just add that Mr. Hilliard is a fantastic resident here of Clinton Township. He is someone who I've become acquainted with over the couple of years in his advocacy in various ways within the township, school board and other items. And I think he'd be a great addition to our Housing Commission, and hopefully we can vote him in this evening.
Okay. And even though this is a 2-step process, is it your recommendation that we move forward with this item tonight?
It is indeed.
Is there a motion to the effect?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? Trustee Wade.
Yeah, I just wanted to pretty much echo what Mr. King said. I've seen him pretty active at some school board meetings, and he does show a lot of concern for the community, and I think he'll be a real good asset to the Housing Commission, so.
Thank you.
Trustee Matusek.
I just want to note that the police record check is attached, so we are able to do this in a one-step process.
Further discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. King?
Yes.
Mr. Kress?
Yes.
Mr. Wade?
Yes.
Ms. Matuzak?
Yes.
Mr. Gillihan?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate the service. Item number 10, request for Metro Act permit approval, Metro Fiber.
The Clinton Township Clerk's Office received a Metro Act permit request from Metro FiberNet LLC, AKA Metronet, on March 20th, 2026. AEW reviewed the submitted documents, which included the Metro Act application, bilateral agreement, and all required exhibits and insurance information. We previously had an in-person informal meeting with the applicant's public relations representative on March 10th, 2026, and they provided a presentation that provides additional information about the company and their goals for expanded broadband fiber for residential and commercial users. They also went through their construction process and public notification protocols. This presentation and construction notification information is included with their enclosed Metro Act permit. The Metro Act guidelines state that a determination for permit acceptance or rejection must be made within 45 days of receipt of the request. MetroNet provided all necessary paperwork in accordance with the current state of Michigan statute for Metro Act permit submittals to communities. Since their submittal meets the noted statutory requirements, we have no objection to the Clinton Township Board of Trustees approving MetroNet's Metro Act permit. Scott Chabot, project engineer.
Questions from the board? Mary?
I just wanted to add.
Ms. Bednar, excuse me?
No problem. If the board was to decide to move forward with this, this is the application for the Metro Act. It is a two-step process similar to site plans where you get a site plan approval, but then you need to have an engineering approval. So this is just that first step. Once that's received, then we can start looking at any conflicts that these lines might have with our utilities, which is a second review process.
So you're looking for a approval to proceed to the engineering review?
Just an approval to the Metro Act, but I just wanted to go on the record of saying there is a two-step in case there's been some confusion on that.
Okay. Is there a motion?
A move approval.
Is there support?
I'll support.
Further discussion? Roll call, please.
Ms. Matuzak?
Yes.
Mr. King?
Yes.
Mr. Wade?
Yes.
Mr. Kress?
Yes.
Mr. Gillihan?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Item number 11, Fire Department Budget Amendment.
Dear honorable board members, I am ready to request a budget amendment for the Fire Station Number 4 Auxiliary Parking Lot Improvement Project. This 2025-26 capital outlay project was approved with a budget of $324,057.72, of which $312,279.01 has been expended. Due to winter weather conditions, the last remaining portion of the project, a privacy fence, could not be completed until this month. The cost of the fence was $6,554, and the final invoice of $3,277 is due. I am requesting a budget amendment to move the remaining project monies of $11,778 to the current 26-27 fiscal year. Thank you for your attention to this matter, and please do not hesitate to contact me with any questions. Chuck Champagne, Deputy Chief.
Questions from the board? I see that we have the chief, deputy chief. My understanding, Deputy Chief Champagne, is that this is a project that was budgeted last year. This is the last remaining part, the fence, and you ran out of time. We're moving this forward to this year from last year.
Correct. This is just an accounting procedure, just so that we follow the fiscal year rules. And we can pay this last bill.
Questions from the board? Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second that.
Moved and supported. Further discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. King?
Yes.
Mr. Kress?
Yes.
Mr. Wade?
Yes.
Ms. Matuzak?
Yes.
Mr. Gilliam.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
Item number 12, request approval to proceed and budget amendment for Prince Drury Park fitness equipment.
The Department of Public Services respectfully requests approval of a budget amendment and authorization to proceed with the purchase and installation of fitness equipment at Prince Drury Park. Attached is a proposal from Game Time, care of Sinclair Recreation, for the supply and installation of multiple outdoor fitness components, including ADA accessible equipment and associated surfacing. The total project cost without grant assistance is $85,634.04. Through a statewide initiative funding program, the township is eligible to receive $30,285.50 in grant assistance, reducing the township's equipment cost to $55,348.54, and the total project cost, including freight and installation, to $58,865.37. While this project was not included in the current fiscal year budget, it was identified and projected for inclusion in the upcoming fiscal year. Proceeding with the purchase at this time allows the township to take advantage of available grant funding, resulting in realized savings of $30,285.50 that would not be available if deferred. Additionally, advancing this project into the current construction season provides an opportunity to coordinate the required concrete work with the upcoming drainage improvements scheduled to begin in August. Incorporating this work into the existing project will result in further cost efficiencies by reducing mobilization, labor, and construction costs associated with performing the work separately. The Department of Public Services respectfully requests approval of a budget amendment in the amount of $64,751.91, which includes the total project cost of $58,865.37, plus a 10% construction contingency to account for unforeseen conditions. The contingency will remain under township control and will be used only if necessary. Approval is also requested to proceed with the attached quote from Game Time, care of Sinclair Recreation, for the purchase and installation of the fitness equipment. Your consideration and approval of this request are respectfully requested. Please feel free to contact me should you require any additional information or clarification. Brett Middlestead, Assistant Project Manager.
Okay.
Mr. Gilliam, real quick. If the
Ms.
board,
Bednar.
if the board decides to move forward with this, the budget amendment is for the net amount of $64,750. That will take care of, because we actually have to grant the grant in. So just using the net amount, that will allow us to put in the gift as well as the expenditure.
Okay, noted. Trustee Kress.
I'd like to make a motion to approve and proceed with the budget amendment for Prince Drury Park fitness equipment.
I'll support.
Moved and supported. Discussion on the item? Roll call, Trustee Matuzak.
Just a note that the Prince Drury Park Advisory Committee is very excited to move this up a year as opposed to waiting until next year.
We're excited to also receive grant dollars for it as well. Roll call, please.
Mr. Kress?
Yes.
Mr. King?
Yes.
Mr. Wade?
Yes.
Ms. Matuzak?
Yes.
Mr. Gilliam?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, item number 13, request to approve payment to print the 2026 voter guide.
I have received 3 quotes per our purchasing policy for the production and delivery of the 2026 voter guide. This guide meets the state mandate of notice of early voting, site location, date, and time to every elector as required in MCL 168.662. All 3 quotes were provided by printing companies within the township, and the lowest comprehensive quote is Printing by Johnson & Signs, 21222 Cass Avenue, Clinton Township, 48036, at the estimated cost of $25,554. This guide will provide comprehensive voter information, educating and empowering voters on both the 2026 primary and general elections. It also includes information about our new consolidation of precincts and shows a colorful map of each precinct's boundary and number. Please approve payment for the 2026 voter guide to the lowest quoted print vendor, Printing by Johnson & Signs, Cass Avenue, Clinton Township. Kim Meltzer, clerk.
Questions from the board? So I actually called Ms. Meltzer earlier today. I wasn't aware that she wasn't going to be here at the meeting, but Ms. Irvine and I did have an opportunity to talk, and it appears to me that the quote by Johnson does not include postage, but comes in at a $25,554 amount. And the quote by American Graphics includes postage and paperwork prep, typical mailhouse stuff, at a total cost of $31,022, but with the actual postage amount and the paperwork as $79,5825. So that's my concern with the recommendation.
So I know Ms. Meltzer was working on this, and American Graphics didn't really line item their quote as well as we would have liked to see exactly everything. If you look at Johnson's quote, it has a lot more information. And postage, I actually did figure some of it out, and American Graphics is a little bit lower than what I had found on the USPS website. So they're just ballpark numbers. I guess you can't really decide how much it's going to cost once you know how many you're actually going to send. So we will be spending approximately, hopefully, at least $20,000 less than what we did in 2024. And I brought an example of what I received in 2024 in my community. And it's a nice little shiny booklet, and it's bigger, so it's not a postcard like every voter got last time. And in the middle, it has a big map of the precincts, which I know a lot of people like that. A lot of the residents come and ask for maps a lot. So I'm excited to get this out.
I know that both printers are in Clinton Township. They're both in good standing, have done great work for the township. So it's up to the board. Is there a motion?
Ms. Irvine, can I see what you have right there?
Mr. Supervisor, can you explain your concern again?
The recommendation is to approve printing by Johnson. That quote does not include postage.
Okay.
The American Graphics quote does include postage. And so if you were to add postage at the same level as American Graphics, the American Graphics is actually lower.
Oh.
I assure you, that's not proper. That is not.
Or you can.
Well, I think the voter guide is a great idea, and I certainly would like to see it done. Is there a reason we need to do this tonight? Can we get clarity on the numbers so we have apples to apples?
Ms. Meltzer could try to get back in contact with American Graphics to see if they could send her another quote, but we were trying to get this done pretty quickly because we'd like it to hit households right before Memorial Day when people are home so that they can get them. You know, not stolen out of the mail.
All right, that's kind of quick. All right, then I will make a motion to accept the American Graphics proposal based upon they're going to be cheaper with postage. But I'm not confident about this.
Well, just keep in mind, though, it's just, they don't know the postage for sure, just because they don't have the total number. So it could be less, it could be more.
I think we give Ms. Meltzer the opportunity to clarify the numbers. And
I withdraw my motion.
And we
because-
approve the low bid.
Yeah. I would make a motion that we approve the low bid, whichever one this is.
I'll second that.
Further discussion? Roll call, please.
Ms. Matuzak?
Yes.
Mr. Kress?
Yes.
Mr. Wade?
Yes.
Mr. Gilliam?
Yes.
Mr. King?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Item number 14, request to approve the Macomb County Department of Roads 2026 Pavement Preservation Program Cost Share Agreement.
We are requesting approval of a cost share agreement with Macomb County Department of Roads and Clinton Township for 2026 Subdivision Preservation Program. This includes concrete repairs or asphalt overlays on existing concrete local roads and asphalt overlays on existing asphalt roads as determined by MCDR staff for Penrod Drive from Garfield Road to Kelly Road, Little Mac Avenue from 14 Mile Road to McKishney Street, Glenwood Street from M3 to Harper Avenue, and Beaconsfield Street from 14 Mile Road to Gainan Drive. This is a budgeted item through the fiscal year 26-27 Capital Improvement Infrastructure Fund. The township matches 60%, while the county is committing 40% of the funds. The township match amount is $779,707. Funds must be paid in full to the county prior to the start of the project. We are seeking your approval to execute the attached cost share agreement for $779,707. Thank you for your consideration. If you have any questions, feel free to give me a call. Mary Bednar, Director of Public Services.
Ms. Bednar,
Yes.
anything to add?
No. So we previously, at the last meeting, board meeting, we approved 2 other cost shares. All 3 of these cost shares, the 2 from the last board meeting and this one, is part of our budget, and it is part of the leveraging money when we can. So we're participating in our cost share, and the Department of Roads is participating in theirs, to be able to take the budgeted money of $3.2 million and spread it to as many roads as possible.
Okay, and so board members, if I could, I know there was a lot of discussion last time on those cost share agreements at the board meeting, and so I met with Finance Director Mary Hine as well as Ms. Bednar, who put this together for your review, but it is basically the infrastructure funds that were disaggregated from the general fund with the revenue sources in addition that go into that fund. These are the total project costs of what was brought into the township and what the township share actually was. So if we go through them, we started with a infrastructure funds of $14.8 million in the 20, or up to, so from 2023 to 2026, we've had a total cost of road projects of $27.3 million. Add in 2027 projects, another $6 million, for a total township investment of money coming in for road repairs of $33.263 million, with federal funds at $10.2 million. County funds brought in a total of 11.1, close to 2 million, 11.2 million. Funds from other municipalities to these projects, some were on the border of Fraser, another on the border of Roseville. So total investment of 33 million. Township share was a total of 6 million. So these are taking those federal dollars, oh, excuse me.
There was 8.9 million.
8.9 million, right. So basically leveraging money. We're spending money, specifically earmarking it for revenue brought in, disaggregating it from the regular budget, and only spending it on infrastructure projects. The projects that are before us tonight are in a category which we've sort of labeled feeder roads, those roads that we know would not be eligible in any other process. They are not federal aid eligible roads. They are not main roads that the township will do on a 50-50 cost share. But as a result, we know that we can never get a special assessment district on these, and so that's why they were included on the list. Anything to add, Ms. Bednar? Oh, I should add that township funds available after the 2026 year is still 13.8 million. Is there a motion?
I have a question. Okay.
Trustee Wade.
I was asked this by somebody who lives off of Beaconsfield, and they were looking for clarity of how you make the determination to go from 14 to Gainan instead of Gainan to, say, 15 Mile Road. Is there like an assessment you do, or how would you come to that conclusion?
So Department of Roads is probably the best agency to answer that, but I also see that Mr. Chabot, our township engineer, is rising to speak to the issue.
So on that one particularly, that road was reconstructed in 2015 as
Yeah.
part of the relief sewer project. So had a sewer basically go down the middle of the road. So that road was repaired then. So this is basically the other half that has this is a pavement rehabilitation project.
Okay.
Mr. Wade, if I could add, so when these decisions are looked at, we're also looking at the Pazer study and saying, what the Pazer is. And because that road was done in, I thought it was later than 15, but.
It was in 15, 16.
It was in 15,
Yeah.
16? But anyway, because it was done in 15, 16, it's in still pretty good condition. So
Okay.
that would finish up that road, so that whole from 15 to 14 would be, and it is a feeder road. Being
Right.
able to service all the other streets that are coming off of it.
Okay, thank you.
Floor is open for a motion.
I'll make a motion to support the roads project.
I'll support it.
Okay, moved and supported. Any further discussion from the board? Sir.
I think this is a great use of tax dollars that we put into it. And on Beaconsfield, if you drive down it, you would definitely know why. The one part is perfect, the other part is like a war zone.
Right.
Thank you.
Okay. As a point of note, this program also includes Penrod and
Penrod, Beaconsfield, Glenwood, and Little Mac from 14 to McKishney.
roll call, please.
Mr. Wade?
Yes.
Mr. King?
Yes.
Ms. Matuzak?
Yes.
Mr. Kress?
Yes.
Mr. Gilliam?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Brings us to item number 15, request for bid award 2026 sidewalk improvement program.
On February 26, 2026, the Charter Township of Clinton Clerk's Office received and processed a total of 11 bids for the above referenced project. A copy of the final bid tabulations for this project are attached with this letter. The project includes the removal and replacement of deficient sidewalks and ADA ramps within the 2026 sidewalk program limits. More specifically, this project's area is shown in the attached maps. In addition to this work, we did get confirmation that they could assist with the sidewalk restoration for the McKishney Road sanitary sewer and water main improvement project for a significantly lower cost. The low bid amount was from BKJ Construction LLC in the amount of $202,993.25. AEW reviewed the contractor's qualifications and references and found them to be qualified to perform this work. The cost for the McKishney and Little Mac intersection sidewalk and ramp improvements based on BKJ's pricing is $13,209, which is $15,867 less than the amount from the as-bid utility contractor. AEW did confirmation from the utility contractor that omission of that work from their contract was acceptable and will be omitted from their work scope. Based upon the bids submitted and conditions noted above, we recommend that the 2026 sidewalk program and added Little Mac and McKishney intersection sidewalk and ramp repairs be awarded to BKJ Construction located at 1013 East Mar Road, Howell, Michigan, for the amount of $216,202.25 and for a project budget amount of $244,724.25 provided in the attached breakdown memo. A breakdown noting the total special assessment cost of $191,880 $8.50, and the township cost of $52,835.75 is also provided. AEW will be present at the meeting to address any questions. Scott Chabot, Project Manager.
Questions from the board? Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to support the sidewalk program.
I'll support.
Moved and supported. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Wade?
Yes.
Ms. Matuzak?
Yes.
Mr. Kress?
Yes.
Mr. Gilliam?
Yes.
Mr. King?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Item number 16, request to approve Heritage Estates landscaping contract for the year 2026.
The Department of Public Services is requesting the board to approve the 2026 landscaping contract for Heritage Estates. Heritage Estates Management and DPS is requesting to forego the bid process and utilize a three-quote process, which they have already received to hire a new landscape contractor. Due to poor service performed by last year's contractor and time needing an immediate action, Heritage Estates acquired three quotes, with U.S. Lawns being the lowest quote at $24,310. By going with this quote, Heritage will save money since the cost is lower than last year's service and can hire a qualified company to perform these services. In the future, Heritage Estates will be using BidNet for such contracts as DPS was currently trying to get in place this year, but with such details and service demands could not complete before the need of services was present. Thank you for your consideration. Scott Kleinfeld, Assistant Superintendent, Public Works.
So based upon that, we need a motion to waive the bid policy and to approve the contract as presented.
I'll make that motion.
Is there support?
I'll support it.
Further discussion?
Yeah, I had a question.
Trustee Wade.
Going back in time, at one time, Ms. Bednar, did the township used to cut that grass?
Not to my recollection, and I've been here 24 years, so, but I'm not to my, we do the snow plowing, but we have not, I don't believe we've done the mowing of that grass. And if we did, it would have been many years ago.
Okay.
Definitely not since I've been in this position, which
Okay.
is at least 14, 15 years now.
Okay. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Ms. Matuzak?
Yes.
Mr. Wade?
Yes.
Mr. Kress?
No.
Mr. Gilliam?
Yes.
Mr. King?
Yes.
Motion passes.
And that brings us to item number 17, voting to go to closed session on pending litigation, Casson versus Clinton Township.
That's not actually me. My micro.
Will we be coming out of closed session?
We will be coming out of closed session, yes. Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion to go to closed session.
Is there support? Moved and supported. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. King?
Yes.
Mr. Wade?
Yes.
Ms. Matuzak?
Yes.
Mr. Kress?
Yes.
Mr. Gilliam?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, that brings us to public comment. Captain? Okay. Mr. Buchel is recognized for 3 minutes.
As the board all knows, I've taken the time to, through a FOIA operation, pull some site plans of great concern. This board, who is the bosses of, we have a planning department, a building department, we have this board, we have all these, the planning commission, the zoning board of appeals. These properties, and the one specifically, they're both easy that because the two I so far counted on, but the one on Groesbeck, there again, the supervisor said he does not want to deal with any of this anymore. And so it's going to be the 6 of you, the extra board members, who, and that's the whole idea of this thing. You don't have to take a tape measure. If you took the time, Once I sent you the fact that you could just go to go in and look at the site plans and realize that the one on Groesbeck that you've approved with a bazillion variances, including the fact that no building, no nothing, it's still an empty property. One of the things that's very easy to look at is it's very clear in there. They have to have an engineering grade site plan to show where the water goes from, in as much as there's water over the road signs right in front of the building. Then you have the fact that the one thing they had to do, this property has no driveway other than half the dirt drive that they had with the property next door. That was supposed to be paved. That's part of the site plan. This thing is totally sold out as being completed. Drive over there, see if any of it was done. And you have to realize there's no building permits on this property because the fence was put in illegally a couple years before. It's not a grandfathered in property because it was used for something else long before, literally just a waste plant. And it's pretty sad that, you are spending tax dollars, millions of dollars a year on all these different professionals. And somehow you're voting to do these things. And then when a resident, you'll go after a senior citizen for nothing, and there again go through whole neighborhoods, drive right past these blight, not do anything. And then you'll go to this after a senior citizen, but you won't go, not one of you have answered my questions. I submitted them the way you're supposed to under your system. If you haven't got an answer, as I bug you with the emails, sorry, but you should have answered anyways. 6 of you, because you all got copies of the supervisor's letter saying he's not going to do anything about it. Thank you. Keep after them old people.
Seeing no further public participation, we'll, ma'am, so our process is generally to fill out a comment card to speak, but without objection? Okay. Yes.
My name is Jackie Smith. I live at 23425 Donaldson. I've submitted several complaints about a neighbor feeding squirrels. And your building department says they can't fine her unless they see her do it. He was at my house. He watched her do it. I'm catching 9 rats a week. She feeds the squirrels. She pollutes my yard. They dig under my front porch. I have grandchildren. I have a dog. She moves, you'll see in here, where she moves the feeders to. And my in-laws gave me a Japanese iris for our wedding, and it died because the rats burrowed under it. They move the big bait traps 4 and 6 feet. They get in there, and they're big enough that they move them. I've made a police report. Police won't do anything because it's a township issue. If you just go and sit on the street, you'll see the squirrels. You can walk in the field, look where the peanut shells are. Look at the pictures of my front yard. And nobody does anything. So we have, obviously, a garbage issue not being picked up. Harper is nothing but businesses. There's condos behind us. There's condos on the other side. What do they have? Dumpsters. The building department says, if you don't feed them, they'll go away. If you don't help me stop her from feeding them, they're not going away. So I need your help to talk to the building department. Somebody do something, because they're bringing the rats. They're not mice, they're rats. I put a live trap out last year this time. The rat was 10 inches long. The DNR came out. They said, I didn't do anything wrong. I can trap them. They're a nuisance. They're dangerous. They carry disease. And the building department is doing nothing to help me, because she's behind a privacy fence. And if you just walk and look in the field, you'll see all the peanut, this is today, peanuts everywhere. I have my grandmother's 120-year-old iris. I don't want to lose it. And this is getting to the point where we don't speak to each other.
Yeah.
There's
So-
dirty looks.
Do we have your contact information?
Yeah, it's on here.
Okay.
And I'll fill out a form.
Okay, great. Yeah, if you can fill out a form, that would be great. I have the materials. I will share it with all the board members, and I will be speaking to the building department.
Okay. So if the guy can't see her do it, the sun rises at 6:30 tomorrow morning. She's out there feeding him at 6:30. By the time he gets in his office, has his coffee, gets his thing, gets in the truck, goes over there, it's 9 o'clock. You're not going to see her feeding the squirrels.
Yeah.
So I need your help
Okay.
because I'm at my wit's end.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Brings us to closed session. Summer seasonal labor positions are available in the Public Services and Water Sewer divisions. For further information, call our HR Civil Service Office at 586-286-9342 or visit www.clintontownship.com and click on the Employment tab. We have great jobs in public service in the Water and Sewer Division available, and great for young people, great for people who like to be outdoors, and I think the pay is somewhat competitive. I'm sure people would want it to be more, but it's at least somewhat competitive. Thank you, everyone. me call this meeting back to order. For the purposes of a recommendation for a motion, Ms. Asano.
It would be a motion to proceed as discussed in closed session.
On the case of Casson versus Clinton Township?
Yes.
Okay.
I'll make that motion.
I'll support.
Motion's been moved and supported. Any further discussion? Roll call, please, Ms. Irvine.
Mr. Kress?
Yes.
Ms. Matuzak?
Yes.
Mr. Wade?
Yes.
Mr. Gilliam?
Yes.
Mr. King?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Seeing no further items before the board, this meeting is adjourned.